Welcome to Club Book with Ali Hazelwood. My name is Zoe Jackson. I'm a reporter and book talker here in the Twin Cities. Before I introduce tonight's guest properly, allow me a moment to tell you a bit more about the unique series that is bringing her to us. Club Book is a program of MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, made possible through Minnesota's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and coordinated by Library Strategies, part of the Friends of the St. Paul Public Library. Carver County Library is the co-organizer of this evening's talk. Thanks also to partnering bookseller Red Balloon Bookshop. A purchase link to Love to Loathe You will be available in the comments section of this live stream feed. Have it shipped, pick it up at their lovely store in St. Paul, or have them deliver it personally to your door if you're close to the area. One final housekeeping note, in the comments you'll see a survey link. MELSA would greatly appreciate hearing what you think of this Club Book program. It's quick and easy. And now for our featured event, Ali Hazelwood holds a doctorate in neuroscience and a faculty position at a prestigious university. She also moonlights as one of the most popular romance authors writing today. Hazelwood's distinctive brand centers on women in STEM fields and academia. She burst onto the literary scene in 2021 with The Love Hypothesis. Fellow romance writer Christina Lauren calls Hazelwood's debut contemporary romance's unicorn, the elusive marriage of deeply brainy and delightfully escapist. The Love Hypothesis has already been optioned for a screen treatment. Hazelwood's next release, Love on the Brain, became an instant New York Times bestseller, Indie Next Pick, and #1 LibraryReads selection. In a starred review, Booklist praised snappy dialogue with witty zingers makes this tender enemies to lovers story set at NASA an unforgettable follow-up. Hazelwood's latest book, Love to Love You, collects 3 STEMinist novellas released separately in 2022, Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. After some initial questions from me, we'll have plenty of time for audience Q&A. Simply drop your questions in the comments thread here on Facebook, and our tech manager will get them to me. If you'd prefer to contribute a question in a more anonymous way, you can send a private message to Club Book here on Facebook or send an email to clubbookmn@gmail.com. Hi, Ali. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Zoe.
That was a mouthful.
That was the best intro ever.
We are so happy to have you.
Oh no, my connection is already.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. My internet connection. I just hid my video for a second because my internet connection was being weird, but I'm gonna give it like a minute and then come back.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And while we're waiting for that, I mean, I'll just say about me personally, like I remember hanging out with some of my friends in 2021 when one of my friends just like burst out of her room. She's like, I just read The Love Hypothesis. And she was like, you have to stop what you're doing and read this book, basically. And I did, and I loved it. And I was just wondering if you were kind of expecting, you know, your first book to create such a like visceral, earth-shattering reaction among so many people like online.
No, I mean, not at all. I think we were all really surprised, like both me and my editor and my agent, and like just generally, we had no idea. It was a combination of factors that made it kind of explode from the beginning. I think the biggest one was that it was a Book of the Month pick. And Book of the Month is, you know, this monthly subscription box where, you know, there are a bunch of books that you can choose and they send you home hardcovers. And so it was a Book of the Month pick. And so a lot of, you know, a lot of people on Book Talk, a lot of influencers kind of had access to it pretty early. And they were, you know, they were so sweet on Book Talk about it. And they were talking about like, you know, the book and what things that they liked. And so they kind of promoted the book a ton. And I think none of us expected that, you know?
Absolutely. And do you feel like the kind of romance resurgence that I feel like a lot of people have kind of talked about in relation to the pandemic has had like an impact on that as well?
Oh, 100%. I think it was such a sad period and everyone wanted to have something happy to look forward to, and also just to know that there were stories that had a beautiful, happy ending. I mean, I love thrillers, but sometimes you just want to know that the person is not going to die in the end, like you just want to know that these people are going to be very happy. And that's kind of that's the reason I think why romance got so big in those times. And not to say that it wasn't. I also would say that there were very big rom-com authors before the pandemic who kind of started this trend of like, I don't know, like they had very big popular books. I'm thinking of Helen Hoang, Jasmine Guillory, and Sally Thorne for sure. And they are my favorite. I love them. And I think they were like writing these books that kind of they just they were already they were already selling a lot, and then we kind of the pandemic like built on top of that. I think I don't know, I'm not a market analyst. This is just stuff that I think about.
No, totally. It's like I want something that is going to guarantee me some joy. So that's amazing. And you mentioned some of your like favorite romance authors. Did you like read romance like growing up? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, you were freezing again on my end. It's my internet connection. Can you repeat what you said? I'm so sorry.
I said you mentioned some of your favorite like romance authors. Like, did you read romance growing up too?
Oh yeah, 100%. I started way too early. I should not have been reading romance novels, but I was like stealing Harlequins and those like silhouette desire, like literally the super small category romance. I was stealing them from my grandmother, from my sister, and I should not have been. I was reading like Rosemary Rogers and Johanna Lindsay, and I loved every second of it. So yeah, I personally, I was a big romance fan. I think I became obsessed with romance in the early 2010s, because that was like the new adult resurgence. And so that you had like a lot of stories set in college and stuff, and I ate that up. I loved it so much.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. I feel like the whole like stealing them from your family members is like classic. Like that was me. It's like everybody I know.
I know. I know, it's how we are like inducted in the in the romance world, I think.
Do you feel like, growing up it was more like not like secretive, but like something like people didn't like talk about all the romance books they're reading, or like pass them off to like all their friends? Obviously there wasn't as much social media, but I mean I feel like it's completely different of like, oh my gosh, we're passing this like adult romance around a friend group. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you for sure that I was embarrassed to be reading romance while I was growing up. And like now I am ashamed and embarrassed that I was embarrassed at the time. But like at the time, I definitely felt like I don't know. I think I felt like it was something shameful that I had to hide. And so um it's I don't know what changed, honestly. Like, I mean, I know what changed for me. Like for me, the biggest turning point in like becoming very open about loving romance novels was that I um began writing fan fiction and being active within fan fiction communities. And basically I sort of got to the mindset that it's okay to enjoy what you enjoy, and there are other people out there who enjoy the same things you enjoy, very likely, and that and that it's okay to embrace it and just like be proud of it. In terms of why it got like so open, like for other people, because it's true, like Book Talk is so proud of, loving smutty stuff. And I don't know, I wonder if it's a generational thing. Like, I truly have no idea what happened and why this switch happened, but I love it. And I think it's amazing. And, it's just generally there should be more acceptance in the world, like as in let people enjoy what they enjoy. And I'm not talking about like, bigoted things, but, you're not doing anything bad by reading tentacle porn. And so we should embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. I
I'm gonna,
I feel like I have gotten like all
oh,
the
come
like
on.
best romance books that I've read in the last few years, like from Book Talk. So I'm so appreciative of that too, of this place where, everybody kind of enjoys this genre together. It's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
And I know you mentioned you write fan fiction, but like when you're writing, your novels, like do you write every day? Like how do you kind of balance your writing with like your day job and that kind of thing?
So I actually quit my day job last year. I couldn't keep up with things, and so what ended up happening was that I just kind of I finished up. I was a professor. I finished up the semester, and then now I'm writing full time. I have to say that before, it's so much less stressful than it used to be. Before I was so before I would write a lot at night. I would write in like scraps of time. I would write a lot, like I don't know, if I had office hours and I was waiting for students to come in, I would just, write a couple hundred words. So there was a lot of kind of like stealing little snippets of time to be able to, make a deadline, or, before then, before I was writing professionally, even when I was writing fan fiction, fan fiction is such a labor of love and of passion. And I just kind of had these stories that I needed to tell. And so I was literally writing, at 1 a.m. because I had to. Now that it's a job, I have to say, it's much less. It's much more. Oh crap! I'm late for my deadline. that I have to say that.
Right. That's so funny. Congratulations to you. Full-time writing is amazing.
It's such a dream come true, and I might just end up going back to my job, but it's just nice to try for like a little bit.
Yeah, totally. What keeps you inspired when you're writing?
A lot of things. I think for me, the biggest inspiration, like my biggest ideas come when either I read a book, or I watch a show, or I watch a movie, or I have a conversation with someone and something kind of tickles me and I decide that I want to explore that a little bit more. And that's usually when I start kind of trying to plot something, or like trying to, that's usually when I have this moment of, wouldn't it be nice if there was a story that kind of echoes that, or that, has something to do with that. And that is a lot of fun for me. I guess maybe it's my fan fiction origins. Like I always, usually I steal a little bit from something and then like I build a world around it. Um,
Yeah,
that definitely is a big source of inspiration for me.
definitely. There's only 100 stories or whatever they say, right? Let's see.
I'm
Um,
sorry. I can hear you. I just my connection wasn't stable, so I turned off my video for a second.
no worries at all. Um, you talked a little bit about fan fiction, a little bit about, adult romances. Your first, YA novel is coming out this year. That's so exciting. And like, what kind of made you want to take a leap into the YA realm?
Um, so I have to say, I didn't necessarily want to write a YA, but I had this story in my head, and I had been thinking about writing a story set in chess since, like, the first notes that I found about Check and Mate were from 2018, so from a long, long time ago. And what ended up happening was that the more I brainstormed this story that I had in my head, the more I realized that the characters had to be young-ish to make sense. This mostly has to do with the fact that the chess world is a pretty young word. Like, you would be surprised by how young, or I mean, I don't know if you would be surprised, but like I was surprised when I first found out at how young chess champions are. So it's very much a young game, a young game, because it requires a lot more physical and mental stamina that I would have thought. And so it kind of made sense for the main characters to be young. And that's kind of how it became a YA. Like, I remember going to my agent and telling her my idea. I was like, so this is the idea. I think the characters would be 18 and 20. And she was like, I think we should frame it as a YA. I think it's better. It's also very much, I mean, it's definitely a love story. I write romance usually, and it's definitely a love story, and the love story is 100% the focus of the book. But I think there is way more, like, it has more emphasis also on the main character, Mallory, growing in her own self, and, learning to accept her talent, her love for chess, her family. There's a lot of like personal stuff going on in her life. And it's very much like, it is a romance, but it's also kind of like borderline, kind of this, coming of age story. Basically, there were a lot of considerations that we made. And then we were like, you know what? Let's just frame it as a YA. So I have to say, definitely the story came first. And then we decided maybe the YA is better. The YA market is better for this.
Great, I'm so excited.
Me too. It's my favorite book that I have ever read.
Wait, that's huge.
I just feel like I know I have another book coming out before that one, but I'm like, can we just skip to the YA?
You're making me so excited. I feel like chess is having such a cool resurgence right now too.
And I don't know if you watched The Queen's Gambit, but I was obsessed. I was like, I was in love, and it was amazing. So I know, I feel like more and more people are starting to play chess too. So that's just lovely, I think.
Everyone I know has the like chess app too.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, yes. One of my favorite chess apps is like the Magnus app. So Magnus Carlsen is the the best chess player in the world for the past, decade or so. And he's again a very young man. I think he just turned 30-ish or something, or well, something like that. Well, maybe 30 something. But he has this app where you can try to play against Magnus at different ages. And Magnus at age like 5 has beaten me like 40 times. And I'm like, this is upsetting. Stop this.
Wait, I have to try it. I'm gonna do so bad.
It's so like humbling. I'm like, okay, fine.
Thank you for the recommendation.
I promise I do not make money off of Magnus Carlsen's app. I wish, but I don't.
Let's see. We have some amazing audience questions too. And the first one that's come into the chat is, this person says, you've written about aerospace, environmental, and civil engineers and more. If you weren't trained in neuroscience, what STEM field would call to you the most and why? It's a good question.
It's a really good question. I actually have to say that in in the couple of years before I quit my job, like before I started publishing, I was having my like crisis, like, did I do everything wrong? Should I have done something else? And which I have one of those like every other year usually. But, at that time I was like, I should have just gone into data science because I definitely enjoy the statistical analysis part of I guess of writing, of like analyzing a data set, exploring a data set, trying to like see what the data tells you. A lot of, I don't know, like for me it was the most exciting part. And then you have to write the paper and you have to teach the stuff to other people. But I guess what I liked the most was always the like just being me on my computer and analyzing stuff and trying to pull a story out of the data. So definitely I think I would try to be as much as I can in like a data science adjacent job. um which I guess something like a statistician or a biostatistician, I guess.
Cool. That's awesome. I wish I knew more about data. It's always like I'm a reporter is my day job, and people are always like, journalists don't like math and data, like that's why we write. And then like other people are like, no, journalists are like should know data, like all this stuff. So I'm always trying to learn, but I'm struggling.
Like journalists, though, I mean, you guys could report what the experts tell you and stuff. So I think people should leave you alone.
Yeah, makes you more marketable to know the data though. So I gotta.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. I feel like and the job market right now is like the more things like everyone, I feel like everyone expects you to be able to do everything at all times. And it's scary.
Do everything at your day job and then also have a side hustle.
Of course. Yes, absolutely. Oh,
um, let's see. Another question from a audience member. I'm a unapologetic lover of romance tropes, roommates, enemies to lovers, miscommunication, and so on. Allie Hazelwood, you have the best. What tropes are your personal favorites?
oh my God. Okay. So, well, thank you. Um, so my favorite trope, I mean, I have many. I love marriage of convenience. And like, okay, so I love enemies to lovers, but a specific brand of enemies to lovers where like, this is gonna sound complicated. It's a specific trope. It's like I love it when they are fated mates, so they are like destined to be together, but also they are on opposite sides of, I don't know, a war or something or a magic thing, and that is just truly my catnip. I will read whatever story.
That's like such a perfect like fan fiction trope too. It's just like the most niche down
Yes.
possible.
That is so true. It's like basically an AO3 tag. That's exactly what it is.
And I'm like, I'm trying to think of like a real book that's like that. But
I've got you. I've got you, but it's not out yet.
oh,
But okay, I actually want to recommend to everyone Tia Guanzon's The Hurricane Wars. It's going to be out in, I want to say October 3rd. In October. It's a fantasy book. It has these exact tropes. I think Thea wrote it for me personally, even though she wrote it before she met me, but I think she knew deep down. And it's also she lives in the Philippines, and so it's this like amazing like very vivid descriptions. Like the magic system is set in like it's based and inspired by Southeast Asia. Amazing. Like once again, the Hurricane Wars, Tia Guanzon, pre-order it. Sorry.
Oh, that's such a good rec. Thank
Oh
you.
my God, it's so good. It's so good. You should ask for an arc. I bet you will get it. It's amazing. Sorry.
I
I'll
will.
intercede for you.
I feel like it's so fun to like ask your favorite writers like what they like to read or like what you've been reading. So, and someone asked that too, so I'm gonna ask now. But like, what else have you been reading lately that you've enjoyed?
Okay, so I'm actually in New York for a publishing event right now, and I'm going to be at this publishing event with other two authors, and so I got arcs of their books, and you know when you're like, I have the best job in the world because I got to read these books early. So, well, I'm gonna tell you, actually, the last three books I read were all young adults. The first one was The Name Drop by Susan Lee. It's Susan Lee is this Korean American writer who writes stuff that is very kind of inspired by K-drama, Korean drama. I love K-drama. I am like truly, I love it. And The Name Drop is this basically kind of like switching places, missed identities kind of young adult in which two people who are like, one is like this guy, like this very rich young boy kind of switches places with this more working class young girl, and then as they are in cahoots to like maintain this switch, they fall in love. Love that. That was amazing. I adored it. And then the other book that I read was by JL, and the book is called The House of Marion. I hope I am pronouncing it right. But it's I adored it. So it's this story about a girl who has this kind of very dark magic inside her, and she ends up at this kind of like magic boarding school to learn how to control it. And it just again, the descriptions are so lush, and it's just this truly fantastic writer and this truly fantastic story. But as a romance lover, I have to tell you that the love story is truly amazing because she has this dark magic, and the person that she's slowly falling, but she hides her dark magic. The person she's falling in love with is someone who is a trained assassin who is supposed to kill people with her magic. So I was like, this is amazing. When I realized where this story was going, I was like, this book was also written for me, even though I have never met the author. She must have done it for me. So that's another amazing book. I highly recommend it. Again, I'm very sorry because all of these books are arcs and are not gonna be out for a while. I promise I'm not trying to be a tease. It's just that I mostly read arcs. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's something for us all to look forward to.
Yeah, and you can also pre-order them. Yeah, I know. I feel like whenever someone has an arc that I don't have and they talk about how good the book is, I'm like, I have this, oh my God, I want it right now. So, sorry about that. And the one that I'm actually reading right now and loving is called Thieves Gambit by Kevin Lewis. I hope I am pronouncing the name right. And this is another YA about, basically, it's kind of like Ocean's 11, but it's a book about a thieves competition, and it's fun. It's so good. I haven't finished yet though. So it's possible that they will die in the end, and I would be sad. No, I don't think it will happen. But anyway, that I'm having so much fun. So yeah, sorry.
No, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I love a look into your current reads. That's so fun.
If you want me to like write you down the names of the books later to write down in the comments or something, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome if you have a second. And moving back to your work,
Okay.
we'll come back to other things.
Okay.
But your novellas, I mean, oh my gosh, that was so fun when they were all released separately, and then it's awesome that they're, in one book together now. A reader asked, if you originally conceptualize these three as one book, or if that came later. And folks asked about, you know, their friendship and how they're all kind of connected, and that part of it as well.
So I'm going to be honest. These novellas are basically like they almost happened by accident. So this is what happened. I wrote like pitches for the novellas. Like sometimes in publishing, it's something I didn't know. You write a proposal for something that you haven't written yet. And sometimes, a publisher or an editor would want to pick it up, and then you write it after they buy it. And my agent at the time had a contact with, I think, Audible, and they were looking for very short stories that they would, that would be just in audio, basically. And I wrote the pitch for these 3 stories, and they were going to be very short, like about 5,000 to 10,000 words, and they were going to be about like these 3 friends, and like something very quick. And then I don't know what happened, but like my Berkeley, my publisher decided that they wanted to buy it, and that's when the novellas became much longer, and the whole like backstory became way more involved. I wasn't sure that they were going to be in print to get all of them. Like what I was told at the beginning is if they sell well enough, maybe we'll put them in print. But I always I wanted them to stand alone. So you can read one, if you want a specific trope, or you can read the roommate one without having to, read the others. But I like the idea of there being like some kind of overarching, friendship and something that, tied the girls. So yeah, I guess I would say I didn't know that it would be published, but I liked to see them as interconnected from the very start.
Yeah. Okay, that's so cool to know.
Yeah. It was a journey.
Do you have a character that you feel like you connect with the most, or that like reminds you the most of yourself?
It's so hard. I think I put little traces of myself in all of my characters, but then I also like expand them and like make them more of a big deal than like we take our flaws and our nice qualities, and I would say dramatize them a little bit when we write. At least that's what I do. So it's hard to pick one character that I think is most like myself. I feel like even when my characters, I know I write very anxious characters, but I am way more anxious than they actually are. So there's that. Yeah, I mean it's hard to pick one, but I would say a little bit of me in all of them.
Good to know. Another audience member asked about the novellas. What kind of went into the decision making of like the order that they were in? And this person said their book club, people read them in different orders, and they feel like maybe that kind of influenced like how they felt about it.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I honestly don't know. Like I think I thought of them in that order for the first time, and then I never again considered changing it. I think that was probably what happened. Looking at it, probably it's because I would definitely think, looking back, I probably wanted to end with with Below Zero, just because it's the one that's a little bit more dramatic, and it was the one that offered the most opportunities for like a reunion, to have all the 3 girls in one place, and I kind of wanted a scene like that. But yeah, thinking about it, the first and the second could have been swapped, and I don't think there would have been any difference. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like you write a thing in one way and then you never I consider it. That was yeah.
I mean, it was meant to be.
Yes, maybe it was perfect.
Right. um, do you, another audience member kind of asked if you've gained any like famous fans since you've like blown up, and like
Um,
what do you think about that? Like, are there people who you're like, wow, they're reading my writing?
um, well, I don't think she's a fan, but my second book was also a pick for Book of the Month, and they sometimes get like stars to write recommendations, and they got Hannah Simone. She plays Cece in in New Girl, and
Oh, yeah.
I was, first of all, I didn't know that. Like, I only found out like a week after the fact. And then because my ex-publicist from my publisher, who now works elsewhere, like messaged me, was like, oh my God, I love New Girl. And I'm like, I love New Girl too, but like I didn't understand the concept. And she's like, oh, but like, did you see that Hannah Simone wrote your recommendation? I was like, what? And that was like, that was truly, I think that was my most adjacent moment to, to a celebrity reading my book. But I have to say, I'm a big reader. So for me, like authors are kind of celebrities or something. And like, I got like to talk and chat and like sometimes even become friends with authors whose books I have been reading for decades. Like last month, I did an event with Sherry Thomas, who is a historical romance author, but you also might know her from the Lady Sherlock series. So it's basically this reimagining of Sherlock Holmes as Charlotte Holmes, set in the Victorian period. It's like she was always like, I was reading her books when I was in college, and like I was reading them, rereading them, memorizing them. And I got to do an event with her, and I'm like, this is my life. Like I was so happy, and Sherry was so lovely. So, and like, I don't know, like Christina and Lauren from Christina Lauren, they're two people, but like we hang out sometimes, and I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. Like these are these people that I deeply admire, and they turn out not to just be great writers, but they're like really lovely people to talk to. And I just, it's mind boggling to me. I cannot get over it. So I wouldn't say they're my fans, but I guess I got like, I ended up becoming friends with these people that I've been obsessed with for years. And I'm like,
Oh, so cool. That's amazing.
no.
Aside from, making friends, what do you love or what do you enjoy the most about like writing rom-com?
Um, it's a good question. I love writing sex scenes. I know, like a lot of people say, oh, it's embarrassing, and then your editor edits them and it's so weird. And I'm like, nope, I am here for it. I think it's probably my fan fiction background. I'm like, the more unhinged, the better. So I do love that. I really like, my favorite part is definitely like drafting, like the first rough draft, when you're still getting to know the characters and you're still like even getting to know the story. I mean, you have your outline, but like what happens, it's like my outlines never last. Somehow they always end up changed. So that's kind of like the most fun part to me, maybe because it resembles so much how I started with writing. Like I was, originally I was there for fan fiction, and fan fiction was it's very much a first drafty kind of process. um so that's definitely my favorite part. I also really enjoy the back and forth with my editor and my agent. Generally, they either give me feedback, or sometimes they're like, I think if you did this, the story would be better. And I just, I value them so much. They're amazing. I like them. as people, aside from, as I guess, people to work with. Like I like them as, friends, I guess. So my author and my agent, they're, Sarah Blumenstock is my editor, and my agent is Taule. And I just really like the collaboration between us. I think it makes my work better. So yeah, I guess these are my favorite things.
They're your friends and your like beta readers.
Okay, but like I also have my very close friend Jan. Shout out to my friend Jan, who reads. She's the one who reads everything I write first, and she catches some stuff that I'm like, I am so sorry that you had to read this mess, this sex scene in which he has 4 hands. I am so sorry. I did not mean to do that.
That's so funny. I also feel like it's such a sign of your talent that you're like, I love the first draft. Like I feel like the first draft is so scary and like daunting to so many people. But that's your
it's the same for me, I have to say. But I was doing an event with I think with Ali Brady. They wrote The Beast Trap, another book that I highly recommend, especially if you like women fiction. And especially if you like stories about sisters who maybe are not getting along at the beginning, but like grow to love each other. I love this book. But anyway, I was doing an event with them, and I think it was Ali who said, I think that like the most important thing that I have learned is that the only thing a first draft has to do is exist. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And now that I know it, I'm almost more relaxed. Like I repeat it to myself when I'm like, I don't like this thing that I'm writing, but like I repeat it to myself and I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be a second draft and a third draft and a fourth draft. There's going to be like a 10th draft probably. So it's okay if it's bad. And that really helps me ease all the anxiety that I have in me. That's a lot of anxiety. So
yeah, I love that.
aren't they so wise? I love them.
Was it scary to like go from, being a prolific fan fiction author to being a traditionally published author?
It's terrifying. It was a lot of adjustment for me last year, just generally like I have always been not just because here's what it was like as a fan fiction reader and writer. Like the fan fiction community is very kind of sweet and supportive. So you really only get like positive reviews to your writing. And that's not the case with traditional publishing, and that as it should be. Like people are paying for your book, they should be able to write whatever they want about it. But another thing that I kind of realized during the past year was that I had to absolutely pull out of reader spaces because they're not my space anymore. And that was hard because I read a lot and I love to read and love to talk about books, especially books that I loved. Like I could talk about books for hours. And so that was, I think, it was an adjustment when I sort of had to realize that, like writing fan fiction and writing for traditional publishing are two different things. Like the rules, the etiquette, all of this stuff is different. And I had to kind of change my online behavior in a way. So I guess that was like 2022 was very much a year of transition for me, in which I realized that I'm not like posting stuff on A3 anymore. Now I am, publishing with a publisher, and I have to act accordingly. So I'm still learning and growing in that context.
Is it weird to have like your name and your face and stuff versus being like kind of anonymous?
Well, I use like my last name, Hazelwood is not my real last name. So I use a kind of a pen name. The face is a little bit weird, but like I don't like I don't know that anyone knows my face. I don't know. Like
Do you get recognized?
no, it has never happened. I
I
think
find it hard to believe I've gotten recognized by random people here, and I'm not a New York Times bestselling author.
maybe if they have, they just haven't told me. I once recognized an author and went to her just like, it was Olivia Blake. She wrote the Atlas Six and Alone with You in the Other. And I saw her and I was like, I'm going to say hi and I'm going to fangirl. And I did. And I fangirled so hard. I don't know if someone has recognized me, they haven't really asked. Yeah, I don't know if it's weird. I think that the thing that got a little bit weird for me was that I wouldn't say you become a public person, but you are perceived as someone that people can have opinions on. And sometimes they will, DM you these opinions because they think you're like Taylor Swift, or sometimes they will post those opinions in your, like, you're making your Instagram post to like, promote your friend's book, and someone will tell you, I don't know, I don't like your nails or something, and you're like, wait, but that's not nice. And I think that's just kind of a different type of, like, it's not something that I would have been used to before. So that was a little bit weird to me. But again, it's just a matter of creating boundaries and learn to kind of act in different spaces in a way that is best for you.
Another writing question from books. Do you work on one book project at a time, or do you kind of juggle as new ideas and deadlines pop up?
So this is what happens usually. I am usually drafting a book. I usually have, like, in the last couple of years, I've been having deadlines like every 6 months. So I'm usually drafting a book, but all the other books that I have turned in are probably going to be in production. So for example, right now I am drafting my 5th book, but I have also been editing with my editor. Well, I finished editing with my editor, my 4th book and my 4th full-length adult romance. And I am sure I'm going to get, copy edits for that. And then I'm going to get, past pages, which is the last round that you do. So there is a bunch of stuff that, a bunch of versions of your book that your book has to go through before it gets published. And so I'm probably going to be working on those. But in terms of like creativity and like creatively acting creating a story, that is only one book at a time for me. I kind of have to get a little bit obsessed with the characters I'm writing, and like, yeah, I need to be a little bit obsessed with them to write them. I don't know why.
I feel like that makes sense. You're devoting so much time.
Yeah, it's kind of like becoming friends with them a little bit.
That's so cool. Okay, well, if you had one of your characters that you feel like you would be best friends with, if you were like a coworker or classmate of theirs, like, who do you think it would be?
B, I would say.
Okay, yeah.
I can only see, so that they would be like B from Love on the Brain, just because she's a neuroscientist and yeah.
She's cool. And when you're writing, like, do you have like a particular soundtrack that you'll kind of like make for each project, or like, do you have a favorite writing spot or drink? Like, talk a little bit about that.
So definitely my drink is Diet Sprite. I don't know why or when I became obsessed with Diet Sprite, but it's just like, I just drink it, so much of it, and it's probably like taking like 10 years off my life, all these Diet Sprite I'm drinking, but I cannot stop. So that is a problem. I have an office in my home, and I bought this like IKEA chair that's super comfortable. If anyone wants a recommendation, and that's that I really love just writing there. It's my little spot. My husband jokes a lot that like they're gonna have to like pry me out of there, like, and that yeah, he makes fun of me a lot for how long I sit in that chair. I usually like the quiet when I write. I don't really do well with music or backgrounds and stuff, but I will usually have some degree of songs that I'm listening to around the writing, like not what I'm writing, but like I'll get obsessed with the songs that I feel like represent what I'm writing. Usually they are Taylor Swift songs. I usually have some kind of Taylor Swift playlist in mind for my next book that's coming out. Barnes and Noble did like this exclusive edition, and they asked if I wanted to, write essays or some bonus content. And I was like, can I pair every chapter of my book to a Taylor Swift song? And that was the most fun thing I have ever written. I loved it.
I'm excited. Oh my God. Are you going to the Eras tour?
I have been, and
Which one did you go to?
I have been to Las Vegas, the first night in Las Vegas, but my friend and I were very financially responsible the other day, and we bought a ticket for LA as well. A very bad ticket. It's like we just want to be there, we just want to be there and see her, and so I now I look forward to seeing her. It's a great concert. It was amazing. Have you been?
No, I'm going in Minneapolis here, so I'm very excited. It's not till June.
It's gonna be so good. I am so happy for you. It's gonna be amazing.
And we talked a little bit about Checkmate, but can you tell us a little bit about like what fans can expect from Love Theoretically?
Oh yeah. Love Theoretically is my other book that's coming out that I said I don't want to talk about because I only want to talk. No, but I like that book too, I promised. Love Theoretically is another rom-com, and it's set in STEM. This time it's set in the world of physics. I'm not a physicist, and there was a lot of research that went into that. But it's basically the story of a girl, a young woman who is applying for this job in the physics department at MIT, and she ends up having to interact with another physicist who wants to hire someone else. And kind of like the fun twist of that is that that physicist who wants to hire someone else is the older brother of a person that she is fake dating. And yeah, that's the usual shenanigans. It's a little bit, if you watch The Big Bang Theory, or you have watched The Big Bang Theory, there is this like rivalry between Sheldon and Leonard, because they are both they're both physicists, but one is an experimentalist and the other one is a theorist. And in Love Theoretically, Elsie is a theorist and Jack is an experimentalist. So there is this like weird feud within a field that was a lot of fun to write.
Really? That's so exciting. I love a workplace feud.
Same. I don't know why, but
another audience member asked, if you can share anything about the upcoming Netflix project.
Oh, for the Love Hypothesis.
Sorry, we're jumping around.
Oh, sorry. My connection. Sorry, my connection. You mean
Yeah.
for the love hypothesis?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm coming back.
No worries.
So these things move really slow, but I can tell you that I have read the script for it's amazing. I was so mad because I was like, this person has made so many jokes and like created, they changed some things from the book, and like it's so much better than the book. And I was so mad. I was like, how did I not think of this? This is so good. This is so well done. Yeah, so I can tell you that I read the script, and I mean, I don't know if I had to give approval, but I was like, I told them how much I love the script, and yeah, now, you know, it's one of those things where the producers are doing their magic, and I don't know anything, but yeah, my main update is the person who wrote the script had so many amazing ideas, so many jokes that I wish I had thought of for the book, and I am so jealous. And yeah,
Great, that's so exciting. Oh my
he
god.
is
Well, coming to a screen near you at some point.
hopefully.
Let's see if we have time for anything. Well, this is a fun one since we love recommendations. You know, are there any books or romance movies, either way, that like you feel like you return to over and over again, and why?
Yeah, I mean, a big one is Pride and Prejudice, 2005. The superior Pride and Prejudice, some would say. I actually love all Pride and Prejudice adaptations, but yeah, that's just, I don't know, that's my favorite. I watch it. It's funny because my friend Julie and I, actually my friend Julie wrote the book Forget Me Not, and it's gonna be her debut. It's coming out in July with Forever. Again, highly recommended. It's a wedding about it's a wedding, like a celebrity wedding, and the florist and the wedding planner used to date, but then they broke up, and they find themselves having to work together on this celebrity wedding. And the book is amazing, highly recommended. But my friend Julie and I, we travel together a lot, and whenever we are in a hotel room together, we fall asleep watching Pride and Prejudice 2005. Like it's we have no, I don't know, we reach no point of saturation. Like we always want to watch it more. So that's one. What else? I mean, I feel like I want to say everything by Sherry Thomas, like all of her books. I constantly reread them. She really is, I think, one of my favorite authors, if not my favorite. Um, Nalini Singh is also an author whose books, like I've literally reread. So she wrote this Side Changeling series. It's like a paranormal um, series that is amazing, and I think it's like 20 something books, and I reread it every once in a while, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just take this month to read all of her books. And that's another big kind of comfort read for me that I want to go back to a lot.
Ooh, I love that. Oh my god. Such awesome. Wait, we might be coming close to the end here. Do you have any final thoughts or recommendations that you want to share? No
Oh,
pressure.
Okay. Well, one recommendation that was probably my favorite romance that I've read this year. A book, it's actually coming out, I think, next month, maybe. It's um The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. It's if you like romance novels, that romance is it's basically the story of a a romance writer who ends up being the protagonist of this dating show in which she is dating all these like romance archetypes. It's a very meta book that kind of like makes fun, but not makes fun to like in a bad way. Like it kind of, it really kind of embraces everything that's beautiful and that's weird about the romance genre, and it's such a love letter to everything that's romance, and I highly recommend that, and I think that's coming out in May maybe, but I don't know. It's very good.
Really awesome. Something else to look forward to besides Checkmate and Love Theoretically. So I appreciate that recommendation. I think that's all we have time for this evening. But thank you so much, Ali, for penciling us into your spring. And it's so nice to meet you and just have you here talking to us all.
It was so fun to touch, to chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
We should touch. We should meet in person. But yeah, it was so fun to chat, and yeah, and thank you for chatting with me.
Anytime. This has been a virtual presentation of Club Book, a long-running literary series of MELSA made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Special thanks again to Carver County Library for the part they played in bringing Ali to us. Before you log off, look for the Club Book survey link, which is in the comments and will be projected in place of my video. Last, consider joining Club Book on Thursday, April 20th for their next program featuring a prize-winning poet and hip-hop historian, Joshua Bennett, author of Spoken Word, A Cultural History. This event will be in person at the Rondo Community Library in St. Paul, and as always, it is free to attend. You can learn more at clubbook.org. Have a great night, and thank you so much, everyone.